And welcome to episode 96. It has been a few weeks. I was on vacation, decided to take another week off, and well, certain somebody was also on a vacation of their own after winning a certain contest.
Yep, yep.
And you went all the way to Colorado. So how did it feel, first of all, being that high up in the air?
Well, the only problem I really had was that I got lightheaded, and they warn anybody who's getting ready to go to Denver or Colorado or anything like that, anywhere where it's high elevation, to drink plenty of water, especially if you're not used to it. And so I didn't drink too much water. I probably should have drank more, but uh, I was mostly just lightheaded and had a headache every now and then. But other than that, it wasn't too hard to adjust to. Well, since I was still kind of recovering from a cold, um, I had a little bit of trouble breathing. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't too bad.
You won the System76 fan contest. You
Yep.
you did the funny meme,
Yep.
and you got to visit at their headquarters. You got to um, experience some really interesting things. Um, like, what all did you get to do there, for
Well,
starters?
there was all kinds of stuff. Had I been able to make my first flight, which I made the mistake of being late, like 5 minutes for the check-in time, so like I sat in the airport for 5 hours in Kansas City waiting for my next flight because the next flight was supposed to depart. I was supposed to be at Denver by 10:30 their time, 10:30 a.m. And my flight didn't actually arrive until 4:20 something, but it was supposed to leave at 1:30 and didn't actually leave until 3. So
Oh,
first problem was my mistake. Second problem was the flight got delayed an extra hour and a half. The flight that they got to put me on. So I didn't get into Denver, Colorado, into downtown until about 5:36, and that's when I arrived at the hotel. So it was already dark. And then from there, all of us went to. There's a place there called Union Station where Amtrak actually goes through, and there's a bunch of stuff there. There's a bunch of shops. They had like sold ice cream, waffle cones that were like this big. I didn't get a chance to get one. I should have. Um, there was burgers. There was all kinds of stuff. There was a bar, the terminal bar. I have got some pictures of it. And they also had two shuffleboard tables in the middle. So we all went there. I met them there, so I was standing outside waiting on them. And the weirdest thing, I'm standing outside, and this is actually illegal by their laws, but I'm standing outside and I catch a whiff of something. And I'm like, what is that? It's like, I know exactly what that is. There's some dude smoking pot, like not even, but like a few feet from me, just standing out there smoking pot. I could smell it. Like here, well, I mean, there it's illegal to actually smoke pot outside, but here it's completely legal, like no smoking pot at all. There, they're just like, whatever. It's such a cool place. The only thing I don't think I would want to live there because it's so packed. There's 3 million people in the metropolitan area alone, and that's just in the main part of Denver. And that's not including the outlying suburbs and everything like that. But it was a really cool town. Back to the bar. So we went to the bar. That's when I finally got to meet everybody. There were let's see, 10 winners. Only one woman. She was brilliant, by the way. Found out she was an intern at NASA. She had worked on a remote telescope. I think she used a Raspberry Pi for it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. She got a video on YouTube. I looked at it for a little bit. It was really neat. Another guy wrote a letter on his blog explaining why he should win and why he should go to System76. I think he had been following the company since they started 10 years ago. Just last month, I think, was their 10th birthday. So their 10th anniversary since they started in 2005. Another guy did an app. Like two guys worked together. One guy made the icon, which is the start of the app, and then the other guy did all the code for the app and everything like that. And it was that was pretty neat. It was like pulling all the information from their website, live website, and they don't have an API or anything like that. So basically, he would have had to like parse all the HTML and stuff like that. I got to see that running in action. It was really neat. But anyway, back to the bar. So we were there at the bar. I got myself a drink. I got a beer. That's all I had was one beer. One of the other guys was getting pretty drunk. He was a cool guy, but he was getting drunk. And what was it called? I think it was Big Ben Draft or something like that. It was a really dark beer, like really, really dark. Think like the Guinness bottle, like not the actual beer that's in the Guinness bottle, like black. It was like dark brown black.
Oh wow.
But it was amazing. It was so good. It was like the best beer I've ever had. Supposedly there's like tons and tons of breweries around Colorado or in Denver. And there's so much competition with that. There's tons of shops and all kinds of stuff right there in downtown where I was at, where I got to walk around. I didn't get to see too much because, like I said, I missed my first flight, so I didn't get to get there and hang out and actually see all the computers the first day. I got a quick tour the next day. So after that, we sat down, we talked, we played shuffleboard. My first experience playing shuffleboard. Got to meet some of the guys on the team. Got to talk with him. Met the CEO there. He played shuffleboard with me. Him and a couple of the other guys, and I got to meet the guy that does the YouTube channel, The Linux Gamer. He's a really cool guy. If you haven't seen his channel, check it out. It's pretty neat. I have a cameo on Paris in one of his videos. He told me on Facebook, so I checked it out. It was really neat. It was the tour that the CEO gave us. Since his flight, I think he had some issues, not because he was late or anything, but he came all the way from Maine. So he had to hop on a flight from Maine. I think he had to go to New York, and then from New York to I think he had to get to St. Louis and then hop a flight from there. I don't remember. I just know he had to leave like an extra day early.
It can be a pain. We went to visit my sister and I went to visit my dad one year in Oklahoma, and we made the mistake of attempting to fly. And if you don't leave early enough, they will, you're going to miss your flight.
I found that out the hard way.
Like you could be standing in line minutes before and still be screwed. So that is a pain in the rear. I don't think I would want to try to fly again if I could help it because of that fact alone.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The plane that I was on was pretty cramped. Thankfully, the flight there, like this really tiny girl sitting next to me, so I didn't have to worry about like being cramped. She's really tiny, so I didn't have to worry about that. And she slept the whole way, so it wasn't awkward. And then the flight back, it was at 7:40 something p.m. was when it departed. I think 7:49. I didn't actually get here until 10:30 p.m. I didn't make it to Kansas City until 10:30 p.m., which was our time. And they are mountain, so they're an hour behind, I think. So like it left 7:49 their time, which would have been 8:49 our time. So I got to experience time zones and had to sit there and think about that the whole time. That made it interesting and fun. But anyway, the flight back, there was this guy. I was walking down the aisles. And there was this guy. I saw this guy with an empty seat, and I had a window seat, and the empty seat was the window seat. And I'm looking at him, and this is really big dude. He's like really big. And I'm looking over there. I'm like, uh-oh, that's my seat. And I'm a pretty big guy myself, and I don't know if you guys have ever been on a plane before, but the seats are tiny. Like I barely fit inside one of those seats. I felt like really squeezed. But it's me, a big guy like me, and then a bigger guy that was sitting on the outside seat.
Oh,
but
yeah.
thankfully, 2 people didn't show up for the flight, so he was able to go to the back and get another seat. So.
Oh wow, that's
the ride home wasn't too bad.
that. So you didn't get to. You said you didn't get to play with their newer systems the first day. Did you get to look at them at all?
Yeah, I got to look at them a little bit, not too much, because the day that we went there, the way things were scheduled was that after we left the bar, we went back to the hotel, and everybody kind of just went back and did their own thing. We got to the hotel that evening, Thursday evening at about 10 something. So I don't remember when I went to bed. I think close to midnight. I always have trouble sleeping in hotels anyway. It's not the bed that I'm in, so it's not the bed I'm used to. And it was a really fancy hotel, though. I had tons of pictures. Now I'm going to share them with everybody eventually. But the next morning, I got up, and then I met with the one lady that went to NASA, ate breakfast with her, and this guy named Nathan. He was a really cool dude. I think he was from Tennessee or Kentucky. I don't know. I don't remember. But we ate at they had a breakfast place right there inside the restaurant, and it was called Ellington's. And so I got an omelet that morning, which was $17. Thankfully, it was included with the price of the hotel and everything. But I should have gotten like something smaller because it was huge too, and it was good. I think it was called the Denver omelet. I don't remember, but they also gave me this little smoothie thing. Like the whole place was just way too fancy for me. So I was out of my environment. I was somewhere I wasn't used to, and then I was in this hotel that was just hopped up, and it was just super awesome, so fancy. Like if you get a chance to take a look at the pictures, you'll see what I mean. It's called the Brown Palace Hotel, is where we stayed. It was just a few blocks down from where their headquarters was. But anyway, after we ate breakfast, the rest of us all met up and then headed towards the office to be there at about 10. And then that morning, we all met at a round table with all the employees. They're at System76 and the CEO. We got to talk. Everybody got to talk and give their input. We gave our thoughts on Ubuntu convergence and convergence as a whole. So the whole idea. So things got brought up about like Windows and Windows Continuum and how that's working, and then Apple's sort of kind of view on convergence and how that works with like how your Mac can interact with your phone. And that's what we think Apple's view of convergence is. And so everybody got to share their thoughts on what they thought convergence was, and the direction of the company, Canonical, to kind of see where System76 wanted to point their nose and head that direction. I got to play with a Ubuntu phone running on it was a Nexus 4, 2 Nexus 4s. So that was really neat. I hadn't actually been able to do it with a physical phone, so that was a neat experience. It was actually pretty snappy, especially with the state of the code the way it is now. Then after we got done with the roundtable, we had a lot of discussion going back and forth on that, and then all kinds of other ideas going around, like what System76 should do with their company, what direction should they head, if there's any new devices that they need to come out with. And I think the outcome of that was that they're going to keep focusing on what they're doing, because if they decided to go into the phone market, since they focus on laptops and desktops and PC computing strictly, if they decided to go into the phone market, since they're such a small company, it'd be very difficult for them to pursue that. And for them to be successful, they need to keep doing what they're doing. And they're doing a great job of what they do. They really are. So after the round table, that's when I got the tour of the offices in general. Got to see like the different workstations where people work, what people do. They had every new Skylake product laid out on 2 tables. We started with the Meerkat, which they're now offering with the Core i7, so you can get a low-power Core i7 desktop Meerkat, which I think comes in at, if you order it just with the Core i7 and nothing else, and leave everything else at base, so like the lowest level storage and stuff like that, I think it's about $800 with the Core i7. It's $500 with the Core i3, which are both Skylake products and pretty peppy. I didn't get to actually play with anything. I really wish I could have. Didn't have enough time, unfortunately, because I screwed up the day before. The next one up after that was the, let me see, the Sable. Their all-in-one system,
Right.
which I was very impressed with the thin design that they were able to accomplish. Partially because of Skylake, and then also because of a new design choice. At the edges of the screen, it was like that thick. It was really, really tiny. But the overall thickness, I think it was just about half an inch to an inch, maybe a little bit more. But for an all-in-one system, that's pretty impressive. And it came with Core i7 or a Core i5, I think, was another option, and you could put a solid-state drive in it if you wanted. The next system up after that was the Ratel Pro, I think. I don't remember. It's the smaller box system.
I believe that's what it is.
Well, I can't remember if they renamed it or not. I'm actually going to have to look it up now.
Oh.
I know the one after that was the, not the Silverback. That's the most powerful. Let's see. Wild Dog is the one that comes after that. Okay, so yeah, it was the Ratel Pro that I got to see, which was really tiny. It came with a full ATX power supply in the back, and the CEO was able to turn it around and let us see the compact design. I think it was like less than 6 inches deep, so it's really tiny, and it came with, I think it had the option of NVIDIA GTX graphics in it as well, but I don't remember how high you could go. Oh, you can go, not GTX, it only goes up to the NVIDIA GT 730, but for the small size, it's pretty impressive, and they only stick with NVIDIA products to keep driver problems and firmware issues down to a minimum. And let's see, the next system after that was the Wild Dog, which they had 2 Wild Dog systems set up, other than the one that was set up as the demo. Both of them running Ubuntu 15.04 and Steam. One was set up to had Portal 2 running on it, and the other one had Dart Showdown. And then we ended up throwing another game. The Linux Gamer, the guy I mentioned earlier, logged into his Steam account, and we played, what was it called? Towerfall Ascension. It's a little fun four-player 2D side-scrolling kind of game. Action, fighting kind of thing going on. It was really, really amusing, really fun. I got to beat the crap out of the CEO. In the game, not physically. It was a great experience getting to sit there and play video games. And we used the Steam controller. We didn't use like Xbox controllers or keyboards. We used the Steam controller. So it was my first experience with the Steam controller, which was impressive. Now, I didn't get to use the actual mouse touchpad because this game didn't support it. It only supported the standard triggers and joystick and A, X, B, and Y buttons. But the controller itself, the feel of it was amazing. I think Steam really hit the nail on the head with the design. And I'm going to have to pick one up myself eventually because it's so impressive. It's so different. So I'm going to have to mess around with it and get a chance to play with it with all my Steam games, my giant Steam library.
Right.
But yeah, they had 2 of those Wild Dog Pro systems, one with a GTX 970, another one with a GTX 980. So NVIDIA's almost top-tier graphics. The only thing higher than a 980 is the 980 Ti, and then the Titan X, which shouldn't be really included with desktop models. It's really a workstation card, being $1,000 for just the graphics card itself. Then the next system up that they had was the demo system for the Wild Dog. The one thing that they were toting with it is it has the option to upgrade to the X99 Intel chipset, so you can get really powerful performance from the processor. Okay, no, that one was, I think that one was the next one up after that, the Leopard Extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has DDR4 memory. So you can start out, that's the first system that they offer the X99 chipset with, and the demo that they were running on that was being able to compile the kernel in 90 seconds. Now, the one thing they didn't mention was like what options they had enabled and stuff like that. So it's assumed that it was a full-fledged kernel being able to detect everything and load modules dynamically. And I didn't get to see it in action, actually compiling the kernel in 90 seconds, but considering it's a Skylake product and it's the X99 chipset, I'm not surprised. So it's a very, very powerful hardware that Intel's been coming out with lately. It's impressive what System76 is doing. The next system up after that they showcased was the Silverback workstation, which also features the X99 platform. It can, I think this is the one that they were saying can take up to 20 terabytes of storage. And you can also, you have the option of throwing in a PCIe based scratch drive that runs off of the M.2 slot. So with NVIDIA's NVMe technology, you can, or not NVIDIA, Intel, sorry. Intel's NVMe technology, which is basically a new protocol that allows it to read and write for non-volatile memory. Non-volatile memory is basically like your standard hard drive and solid states and stuff like that. And it increased the performance of it, allowing up to like 2.2 gigabytes per second, I think is the fastest I've seen so far. And that's actual reads and writes, not the theoretical performance of the bus. So it's pretty impressive. And then after that, they showed us the Serval workstation, which came with a it's their first laptop, or it's their highest end laptop, I should say, which comes with a full-fledged Intel Core i7-6700K desktop-grade processor in a laptop, and it's absolutely amazing. I think you can get Quadro graphics on that because it's set up to be a workstation PC laptop, so maybe just GeForce GPUs. Oh no, you have the option of Quadros, and the demo they have on their site is running image rendering with I'm not sure what program it is, but it compares it to like a MacBook Pro, and MacBook Pros look super slow. But even the MacBook Pro doesn't have Skylake products yet. So
okay, so I'm looking at this now, and current options I see are like a GTX 970M or GTX 980M. I'm assuming that their stuff is not quite for sale yet. Am I right?
I think most of their stuff is ready to actually be sold and bought. If you go to the configuration, you can. Oh, okay. So yeah, it is just the 970M and 980M. It mentioned it on. I think that was probably a previous model. Might be a mess up on their part, but you can get Quadro graphics in the Silverback for sure. You have the option of throwing in a Quadro or Tesla GPU, and Teslas are really made for high-end video rendering and stuff like that, 3D rendering. This Serval workstation is basically meant to be a workstation or a gaming laptop. So something that you wouldn't really carry with you, but it's more of a desktop replacement. And it's just impressive that they were able to get a desktop processor in a package as small as it was. It wasn't as thick as you would expect from a workstation grade PC in a laptop form factor. Then a new product they're getting ready to come out with, which was the next one I got to see, is the Oryx Pro, which comes with either a GTX 970M or a 980M and NVIDIA G-Sync. So if you're not familiar with NVIDIA G-Sync, I may have mentioned it on the show before, I don't remember. Basically, it's an adaptive frame rate technology. So it lets you sync the GPU with the screen so you don't have to worry about screen tearing. It's really, really good for video gaming. AMD also has a solution. It's called FreeSync. And the primary differences between FreeSync and G-Sync is that G-Sync requires extra hardware. So if you buy like a monitor or a laptop that comes with G-Sync, it will only work with NVIDIA hardware. If you have a FreeSync monitor, it's theoretically you could add G-Sync to it and it would work just fine. But either way, it's pretty impressive, and G-Sync allows you to not worry about turning on V-Sync as much, so vertical sync, which prevents screen tearing. So the problem with that is that your GPU is actually rendering the game faster than your screen can actually present it to you, so it looks choppy and doesn't look as good. So, and it bugs some people. Some people don't really have to worry about it too much. And usually that's either a problem with the GPU not being able to put out the frames as quick, which can also cause screen tearing, or the GPU is working faster than the monitor can print all the information out on the screen. So it occurs in both situations. And this adaptive frame rate technology allows you to sync the workload of the GPU with the monitor so they're working in tandem rather than one working faster than the other and things getting confused and causing screen tearing. So it's an excellent experience.
Well, that's pretty cool. I noticed lately on their website they're like financing options and blah blah blah, and I'm guessing they're starting to grow very well if they're able to do something like that.
They had actually hired a new employee a few months before we were able to come and visit them. So they have, I think, 14 people that work there.
Right.
Somewhere between 10 and 14. But getting to meet everybody was the most fun part, honestly, out of the entire trip. Being able to talk with a bunch of people that share the same passion about Linux, and the roundtable discussion was just awesome. And then I think there were two more systems after the Oryx. The Lemur, which is replacing the Galago Ultra Pro, basically, and then the Kudu Professional, which is their lowest end laptop. So if you're looking for something budget friendly, and all these products have Skylake in them, so everything's getting an upgrade. And some of them are pretty thin. The Lemur is actually really thin. It's pretty impressive.
Because I've been itching to get hands on something with Intel Iris Pro just to see how well that performs, but haven't had that chance yet.
I think their Lemur is going to also have Iris Pro graphics in it. And from my experience, I had a friend of mine that had a MacBook Pro with Iris Pro graphics, and it's impressive. It almost has the same power as dedicated GPU. And part of that's due to some of the technology that's inside it. So it's okay. So I don't think their Lemur has.
Because let's see.
Cortana just went crazy on me. Maybe I should be using Linux instead of Windows.
Let's see. But
Buddy, I'm doing a podcast. Thanks to
well, this is available for pre-order from the looks of it.
Some of their systems you can design and buy them right now. Some of them aren't ready yet. And I honestly do not know which ones.
Well, this one's HD graphics 520, but that's not quite Iris Pro. But
actually, when you compare it to the previous gen Iris Pro graphics, it's just about as comparable. The only thing the Iris Pro graphics can offer over the Intel 520 or 530 series HD graphics is Intel embedded 128 megabytes of DRAM on the processor. So your processor normally comes with levels of cache memory. So you have your level 1 cache, your level 2 cache, and then sometimes level 3, depending on the processor. It depends on the performance, like where Intel or AMD in this case also places their product. So if it contains level 3 cache, it is one of their higher performing products because level 3 cache is pretty high speed and it's available for the entire processor, not just an individual core. Level 1 cache is per core, so you have a certain amount of cache for each processing core. Level 2 is usually shared by a couple processors works for an individual core. And then level 3 cache is for the entire core, or entire processor. And then in the case of Iris Pro graphics or anything that has Iris Pro graphics, it contains that embedded DRAM that I was talking about, which is a higher capacity, and each level is also higher capacity. The only problem with moving up in each level is the latency. You have more of a latency issue, and it gets closer and closer to the latency of like your system memory, which is located off the chip, and that's a performance penalty with that. But usually when like a user like us who are just doing web browsing or video gaming and stuff like that, the latency isn't going to cause an issue with memory bandwidth. So the embedded DRAM just really helps out the integrated graphics that are on the chip, and you can store a few textures and some things here on that chip that will allow it to, instead of having to go back out to the system memory and pull it back in and then redraw the frame, it can draw it right there from the CPU, so it's much quicker. It improves the frame rate.
That kind of pulled up the poster you were showing me earlier.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually selling it too.
Oh, are they?
For $20, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, if you guys decide that you want a System76 PC, what you can do is when you go and order your PC, in the comments, after you've configured it and everything, put in System76 fan, and you'll be able to receive that poster that Thomas is showing you if you guys are on YouTube. If not, you'll be able to catch it on our Facebook page or Google Plus page. And you'll be able to get this poster for free. It's pretty neat. It's got a bunch of characters and stuff that they've made. One of them is called Melvin, their desktop sentinel. Like you can get this cut out of them that folds back. And I have one at my desk at work now because I got a bunch of freebie stuff from going there. So he sits over my desk and helps me work. But yeah, you get a free poster if you guys order whatever system. It's not limited to just like desktops or laptops. It's whatever you buy, and you put in System76 fan, you'll get that poster shipped out with your product. Which
right here it's showing the kind of in the background, kind of blurry a little bit, but at the bottom is their website, System76.com. Super powered by Ubuntu, designed and custom built by System76, the best machines in any universe.
And to experience all the machines, I'd have to say the quality is above and beyond what you get from a standard OEM.
you mentioned the roundtable discussion you all had. Did rivals such as The Reason come up? Because I know they kind of sort of tried to expand out into, say, the tablet market. They offered a tablet a couple of times that was supposed to be hackable and everything else.
Nobody at the table brought anything up like that. Didn't really talk too much about the competition, really.
Right.
I feel like, now, honestly, I haven't had the chance to mess with anything that's Reason or any other company that offers Linux machines. With the exception of one guy there had a Dell, one of the new Dell XPS 13s with the Infinity display, which was, it had all kinds of issues, and it wasn't because of the operating system. It turns out it was a BIOS issue. Basically, if you're typing, it could just hit a random key, just add a random key into whatever you were typing, so end up random gibberish. It was supposedly really, really a really, really horrible issue at the beginning when they first released the device. But we kept making jokes, the CEO and then a couple of the guys that were standing around with the guy that had the Dell laptop, about this is the competition that we're up against. Is Dell. Look at what they're doing. All of System76's products, we won't get an issue like that. And if you just won't, because they go through some pretty rigorous testing. I forgot what Carl, the CEO, called it, fire test bench or something like that. But they go some really rigorous testing, and they do some quality products. So.
And they make sure all the hardware is not going to have a problem.
That's why they stick to Intel and NVIDIA products. Not that there's anything wrong with AMD, but it's easier for them to stick to one company that offers something. So Intel and NVIDIA. I mean, you could do one with just AMD, but AMD drivers on Linux can be pretty hairy. I mean, the same goes for NVIDIA. I mean, it just all depends about your experience and if your products are up to date. But I think NVIDIA is starting to kind of catch up and actually try with the Linux community. So
yeah, because
that's why everything is the same.
But for the longest time, NVIDIA, they actually, were among the few companies that actually put out a driver for their products, and then well, various projects kept moving faster than they were moving, so that kind of didn't help.
Come on, you turd! Can't just sit down on the ground, can you?
But yeah, I only had experience with a Reason system, MegaLab, years ago, and I wrote it for Linux.com before that portion of SourceForge was purchased by the Linux Foundation. That was like years back. So I wondered if, because you mentioned they were getting into thinking about maybe going with mobile devices, trying to sell some, or trying to decide whether to do that or not, and getting feedback from you all probably helped a lot in that area.
Yeah. It's not that I don't think they should pursue it. It's just I don't think it would be a viable option for them to pursue at the moment, just because of them being such a small company. And since they have had so much success with the desktop and laptop models that they offer, and they also offer servers too, which they had a few of them running, and they use I think they use it for all the stuff that they do. It's just it'd be better for them to stick to what they're used to and stick to what they're doing right now. They're going to have more success, and maybe in the future, if they can continue to grow, they might be able to offer something different. And one thought that came up was maybe offer like a 2-in-1 device, which would be the best niche for them to branch out into, not like a tablet or a phone or something like that. So,
or maybe even partner with a another company that specializes mainly in mobile devices like phones and tablets and such.
That would be an option, but that that didn't come up, and I'm not sure who they would partner with. Another thing that we brought up was that if you go to Ubuntu's site, especially with like the 15.04 release, the system that's featured on their page is actually like a Dell system, like a Dell XPS,
Right.
which was the new one that I was mentioning that had issues. And they've actually been pretty frustrated that they're not, one of their systems is not representative of the company. And we all kind of talked about that a little bit. And, they've reached out to Mark Shuttleworth a few times to try and see if they can work something in, and they might have some success with that. I don't, but they're actually pretty close with Canonical. They keep in touch to keep their firmware up to date and software and stuff like that, and make sure everything works right. And, as a company, that way they can keep up with the direction where everything is going.
Yeah, I remember reading on Shuttleworth's blog a long time ago that he did compliment him. It was right after they announced that Dell was going to be offering Ubuntu on their systems, and at the time it seemed like a very big deal, saying there's companies like wonderful companies like System76, justifying it with Dell has really big market exposure, really big deal. And then the stories came in about how in some cases people had to jump through hoops just to order a Dell with Ubuntu on it, and everything else. And it's just like, what? But
yeah, that's the funny thing is like, and even if you get a system like that, I think Lenovo's actually offering systems now that come where you have the option to have Ubuntu pre-installed. But with a lot of the situations like that, sometimes it's not going to come out of the factory working like you would expect it to. With System76, most of the people that were the winners that had the opportunity to go there actually had a System76 PC, which I don't yet. I'll get one eventually when I have some extra money.
Right.
It's expensive, and the one I want is more expensive because I really want that server workstation. I just want that full Core i7 in a laptop. But if you buy a system from them, if you buy a PC from them, you're not going to have issues. You're not. The only issues you would have is from the open source software, Ubuntu. You're not going to have issues with the hardware. They make sure everything works together. And lately, Ubuntu's been more and more focused on making sure that everything works rather than trying to introduce too many new features. And that's been a trend for the last year and a half, 2 years, I'd say, since 1304.
Yeah, I've noticed the stories where it's another boring release, but under the hood there's a few newer things here and there, but nothing earth shattering. It's like they're going out of their way to not irritate their user base at all, which can understand that. Because I think they've learned the disaster of Unity in the first place. Like, oh, this is working so great for netbooks. Let's make this the norm for a desktop before it was ready to be used, and then they started updating it, and it got more stable.
Yeah, when it first came out, that's when I actually started to branch out to use other desktop environments, because all I was used to was I was only used to Ubuntu, and Ubuntu came with no 2.0 at the time, 2 something. I think it was like 2.2 was the latest release, but it had so many issues. So it was so buggy with the 11.04 release from 4 years ago. So I ended up switching over. I think the first thing I switched over to was Xubuntu. From that point on, I've been a really big fan of XFCE. But over the years, even like about a year after Ubuntu decided to do the whole Unity thing with 12.04, the first LTS release that had Unity in it, they had a lot of fixes and a lot of updates and stuff like that. And over the course of the life of 12.04, it just kept improving. And now, honestly, and there wasn't an issue, and all of us agreed on this in the roundtable. There wasn't an issue with the actual functionality of Unity. The problem was that it was so big, and it wasn't ready to be on in the system yet. They should have stuck to GNOME until it was 100% ready to go. But,
And yeah, because like KDE also released like, KDE 4 when it came out. It came out before it was really, really ready, and they've since have come back and been able to improve upon that. But yeah, and then there was GNOME 3 where they kind of forged ahead, irritated a lot of people. A lot of people don't like change, unfortunately, but
yeah, it's the way it goes. The open source community is always changing and is always moving forward. So if you're a big fan of open source, you better be prepared for the ride, because it's always going to be changing. New technology is going to be coming out.
You said convergence came up. What was the consensus regarding what convergence should be in general?
It was kind of mixed. Like, I don't think we really ever came together on the idea of what it is. I think most people kind of felt like convergence should be not like, okay, Ubuntu was really pushing the idea of having a computer in your pocket. So like when they came out with the Ubuntu Edge and they were pushing that on Indiegogo for their Kickstarter campaign, and it was designed to be a system that you could carry around as your phone, had a ton of storage, processing power, RAM, everything, all at your fingertips, and then be able to go to work, dock it into a system with a keyboard and mouse, and that's your full-fledged work machine. So you can do your work, program, rendering or whatever, just do whatever you need to do, then take it back home and then dock it at home if you want to, and do some whatever work you do at home, or use it for as your TV. And Ubuntu's idea was that it was supposed to be the universal device. And a lot of us agreed that that's probably not the case of what convergence should be. And then, like I said earlier, Apple was brought up in the way that we think Apple views convergence as you have a device that's strictly for one thing. Like my machine that I'm on right now is my gaming machine. That's what its primary purpose is. My Mac was for school and work. I mean, I can't take it to work with me because of my company and a different story. My phone is my phone. I have some games on it, but it's mostly my device that I carry in my pocket. If I need to do something real quick, I just look it up on my phone. But am I going to play like Fallout 4 on my phone? No.
No.
It doesn't have that power. That's not its use case. So I think there was more people that kind of leaned toward that feeling that each device has its specific use. And that's kind of the thing that Apple's kind of doing. Your phone is your phone, your laptop is your laptop that you travel with. Your desktop is what you do your heavy work on, gaming. And then some of us were talking a little bit about like 2-in-1s and docking laptops, and the idea of bringing a phone, being able to dock it, and have that be your primary device, your only device, was, and for most of us, we feel that's scary, but for like most of the community, it might actually be a thing that some people would like. So it's not sure where everything's really going to go, because Windows has got their continuum, which is basically their idea is that it's all one code base. So the convergence thing is that the interface can be different, but from the back end, all the code's the same. Everything, the functionality is exactly the same. Like you get the same experience on a tablet that you would on a phone and on a desktop, even though the interface is slightly different. Like, and you can see that now with Windows 10 more than anything, which is what Microsoft kind of failed on with Windows 8.1.
Because to me, I thought convergence was supposed to be somewhat of a consistent experience across multiple platforms. It could be for different things, different purposes. And Windows 10, they pulled it off a little bit better than, say, their previous version. 10, 10. Now you still have like tiles in the start menu,
but you don't have to worry about that so much anymore. Now,
right.
now you've got a start menu again, which people are so used to. But on a phone, that's all you have is just your start menu, but it's got tiles, and it looks just the same. And that's the Microsoft really kind of actually did a good job. And most people didn't talk about Microsoft. We tried to avoid that because it's it's the open source community. We want to talk about open source. We don't want to talk about Microsoft, that evil company.
Right.
It didn't get brought up too much, but it did get brought up a little bit. Just as, I guess, in that case, we did bring up a little bit about competitors. So Apple and Microsoft were brought up, but anything else in terms of like the open source community or like direct competitors to System76, nothing actually was mentioned. So, which I found interesting. I did think about it, but I didn't think about it too much because I have had no experience with the reason. No. True.
Because like from what I've read about Continuum,
Turd.
you dock it to a display and what have you, you get a desktop-like experience, but it's not necessarily the full OS. Like you might be able to run their, what do they call it? It's their equivalent to universal apps for like OS 10, where it, where you use one code base for all devices as well.
Kind of like their Office platform, what they're doing with Office 365.
Yeah, Windows Universal Binaries is what it is. Okay. And whereas with Ubuntu's, mobile OS, you can, in theory, be running full binaries of other software if you really wanted to, unless my interpretation's mistaken. So that would be an opportunity right there. Because Apple doesn't do it. In fact, Apple has no interest in having full OS 10 on any of their mobile devices or a 2-in-1. They've said that's not what their customers are wanting at the moment. So, so they're not going to do that. Of course, they also said Surface Book Pro 4 or whatever it was. They're making a big mistake on that, but whatever.
Well, the Surface tablet, all the way up to the Surface Pro 4, they've had kind of ups and downs. With the latest release, the Surface Pro 4, functionality and performance and everything has improved a lot. And the problem, though, is Microsoft is competing against other OEMs that have experience in the field, and Microsoft has never really been much for hardware with the exception of keyboards and mice. And then they also released the new Surface Book, which is supposed to compete with like the MacBook Air and other light laptops, not 2-in-1s, which is what the Surface Pro really targets.
So what else did you get to do at headquarters?
I did mention the Steam controller. We had lunch there after we did the round table. I got to tour the offices. They had set up something really, really neat that was running on a Bonobo Extreme, one of the laptops, the previous gen laptops. They had a projector and a Kinect sensor, and I've got a video and I've got some links that I'll share with you, Thomas, so you can share with all the viewers. Basically, it's a projector that projects onto this little tiny sandbox that they had on the table with a Kinect sensor. And what it did was that you can take the sand and then you can like form land, and it draws basically like a topographical map on top of that, using the Kinect sensor to sense the depth of everything. And it would draw water, land. You could make it rain. You could create rivers and stuff like that based on how you moved the sand and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. It was awesome to play with, and they set that up just for us. It was really neat, and all of it was running off of open source software, so running on one of the Bonobo Extremes, and everything was done in real time. So if you get to see the video, it's impressive. It's very impressive what they were able to accomplish. Other than that, I think that pretty much covered it. Other than I was able to take a test. They had a Raspberry Pi with an Arduino board hooked up to it with a simple EKG sensor, EKG unit that would check your heart rate and stuff like that to determine whether or not you're human. So Dr. Emma, one of the employees, had a series of questions, and it was randomized based on each individual. I mean, it wasn't specific to the individual, but some of them, every person had to answer. And there were some pretty funny questions. There were all kinds of crazy results. I was 100% human. Some other people were 100% cyborgs, and then very few were 100% robots. And it was the test was to determine whether or not you were human, robot, or cyborg. And it was based off of your answers and your reaction to the answers. They called it a lie detector test, which is what it was. It checked your heart rate and stuff like that. They sat you underneath a heat lamp, and the first thing that she did is she asked me if I was comfortable. I had a sensor here on this arm, and then on my right ankle. And so she first asked me if I was comfortable. I said yes, and then she threw a bunch of confetti on me. And I'm sitting under the heat lamp. And so to try and make you kind of sweat and start being nervous and stuff, get your heart going. Would you quit? You're complaining. God. So, but I think that pretty much covers the entire trip. It was really fun. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Although you sounds like you would probably drink a little bit more water this time around.
Yeah, being a little lightheaded and having a headache every now and then was a bit of a pain in the butt, but it was still, overall, it was worth it. It really was. Got to meet a lot of cool people. I got to talk with a lot of people who share the same passion about Linux and open source software, and talk about all kinds of things. We talked about Android phones. A lot of them thought my phone was pretty neat. The Asus Zen phone. It's got 4 gigs of RAM that I'll never use. So it was just a great experience. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I really would.
And you said, which system are you looking at to possibly get from them?
Well, not any time in the near future, but looking at maybe getting the Serval W workstation. So the one that has the desktop processor and the laptop. Just because I'm impressed with that. And it comes with DDR4. You can get a GTX 980M in it. So,
because if anything, I might consider the Sable system because it's all in one. And
the Sable was very impressive in terms of its size. It was tiny, like it was thin. And they might even have pictures on it this time. The back of the PC white.
Because they've got all kinds of ports on there. And I guess they got a DVI port in case you want a second monitor.
Yeah, the pictures that they have on the website right now are of the old Sable. The new Sable, they don't have anything on there yet, which is thinner, and it has the Skylake products.
Oh, okay.
So their website's not updated for that one yet. Maybe because they haven't started producing it yet. Some of the other things are on pre-order. I think the Works Pro, I don't think it's out yet. But all of everything was just amazing. Just what they were able to accomplish.
But yeah, that'd be one thing I'd look at. to be like, okay, this is my first experience with them, because I have never had any experience with their products. It's just I ran into it doing a search one day, and then suddenly I started seeing them advertised through other websites on their AdSense account and everything else, and I'm like, oh, cool. And they kept popping up more and more. So, um, sounds like their future is pretty bright. So, I'm pretty excited.
They're doing some pretty amazing things, and I'm going to love to see what they can continue to do.
So basically, keep it going nice and steady, slow and steady growth, um, and then just hopefully Canonical starts featuring them a little bit more. They need to.
I hope so. Another thing that came up in the discussion was marketing, and that was, if anything, that was their fallback, was that they haven't been marketing to the right audience, maybe. But it's something they're going to try different.
But then again, I think word of mouth has helped them.
Oh yeah, that's their primary customers, is people who've heard about them from word of mouth, and hardcore people that love it, like me, you, and then everybody else that I got to meet there. It was pretty impressive. It was pretty amazing.
So that's, and now you've been trying to add everybody that you've met.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding some of them. A couple of them I've been able to meet, and they're fine on Facebook, and we've gone back and forth talking a little bit. I have one of the guy's phone numbers. He swore up and down that we'd probably met each other before, which I don't remember meeting him, but he's a really cool guy. He was the one that started Mycroft AI, and he was one of the guys that was there. Really cool guy. Really cool guy.
Like he looked at you, he's like, wait, I know you from somewhere. Like, was he in?
That was his feeling.
He was in Missouri then for a time, or what?
He actually lives in North Kansas City right now. So.
Oh, okay. So
he had lived before. So, he had lived here at one point.
Oh wow! So small world.
I think he was from Missouri, and then the CEO of the company was actually from Missouri up until he was like 10, I think, if I remember correctly.
Wow. Oh wow. So when they say that that parts of Missouri is the new Silicon Valley, they weren't exaggerating. That's, like I said, that's a small world then. I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. I gotta go grab dinner. And you mentioned Fallout 4.
Yeah, but probably gonna play it again as soon as I get off here. I've already got Curtis, the other co-host on here. He's been playing it real well. I pre-ordered it, so I had access to it the day it came out. I even sacrificed 3 to 4 hours of my sleep that next day so I could keep playing it after launch. So I've got about 30 hours into the game so far. I love every second of it, and I'm going to keep playing it.
And so you mentioned wanting to do a follow-up regarding that, and I think that's a good idea.
And I really hope that we can get Curtis in on it so we can get his impression. I've talked to him a little bit about it so far, and his opinion on it. And, I think if we get to sit down and talk about it a little bit, so that way the viewers can hear our opinions on it, and maybe get your opinion on based on what we talk about. And maybe you can do some research yourself on the game.
Oh yeah, there's already the joke about the Pip-Boy app and how you can use it to screw with people who are playing the game and not spending time with you. I'm like, oh, already, that's awesome. and the epic faces that you can create.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff all over Facebook about that already.
Some
I've
did.
seen somebody make Hulk Hogan, and I've seen somebody make John Cena. Or actually, I saw. I think it was a Photoshop John Cena face on something.
Oh, like oh man.
I think it was the Unexpected Cena Facebook page.
Well, until then, entertain yourself, educate yourself, empower yourself. Send me those links that you mentioned, and I'll make sure that they're included in the YouTube video in the archives, and then they'll be available in the show notes. Especially your cameo appearance, because that they were there. They deserve a mention and a plug. Linux Gamer, right?
Yep, the Linux Gamer. So if you guys get a chance, check out his YouTube show. He plays Linux video games. He does all kinds of video games. He's a really cool guy. Really cool guy.
All right. Entertain yourself, educate yourself, empower yourself, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you guys later.